Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, live from Studio 630 in the burbs of Chicago. It is time now for another episode of Outside the Box. Outside the Box. With your hosts, Oz Osborne and Pee Wee Taylor.
All right, guys, welcome back, my douchebag brothers and sisters out there.
That's the best solution to that problem.
Thanks for coming back. We are on, what fuck episode would this be? 16, 17? Oh. It's been a long day, guys. I'm going to tell you right now, we have just filmed 3 intros and outros in a row. So we're like a little brain fried. This is going to be part 2 of Steve Ball and Air Ride Shit Explained. And we're not going to do a whole lot of talking because we've got a lot going on here. And we're just going to go right into the next thing here.
Cut to the chase.
We're going to cut to the chase. Do we have anything else to say, Pee Wee? I think I've said it all in the last 2 episodes.
We've said it all.
Thanks, you guys.
Anything news is going to become irrelevant. So
yes. Thanks, guys, for watching. We're going to flip right over here to Steve. Or actually, no, we're going to go right to Air Ride, and then we'll go to Steve. So
yes.
Thanks, guys. Now, let's go into compressors. Compressors are really interesting because you've got to look at 2 different things on that. You want to see how much output they're going to put out, and you also got to look at the draw. Here with the Scions, you've got to understand that our alternators are fairly small. Some of you guys that are running single compressors, you don't really have to worry about this, but I'm running like 2 480s in my Raylan box, and that is a lot of draw. But I'll tell you what, I got air like now. If I get in there and I'm at 0,
way faster.
3 to 4 minutes, boom, I'm at 200 psi.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. But I also have a high output alternator on there and some other stuff on there that's allowing that to fill and to run those. And it does take a draw. You really can't, with those you really can't run the factory relays. Are you running the factory relay on yours?
From Vire?
Yeah. Or are you
Yeah.
running 2, 1 for each?
I'm running 2.
Yeah. You definitely have to do that. On mine, I'm
You
running.
can't run both of them on one. You'll melt them.
I got one big relay. I think it's 180 amp. In
Yeah,
mine.
Thorback sells them.
And
yeah.
I can run one, but I've melted those too. So
really?
that's another thing you need to have in stock in your car is a relay. Those do go out on from time to time, and your compressors won't come on and whatnot. So again, going back to your compressors, it all depends on the size that you want. As they go up higher, you're going to notice a definite increase in price wise. There are different brands. I only see Vire. There is I don't even know if Firestone. Air Zenith, which
they're expensive.
They're really expensive. They have an extremely high draw. I think they're even higher than the freaking Airlifts. And the nice thing about the Air Zeniths are you can rebuild them if there's problems. I really haven't had any problems with a
lot of times when compressors fail, it's usually due to neglect or poor wiring.
Or the fact that you're not running I can't think of the term now.
The proper.
What the fuck is that fucking thing?
Check valve.
Check valve. Thank you.
And when the check valves go bad, this is how you're gonna know. It'll fill the tank. When it shuts off, there's the air filter in the front. If you feel air coming out of that air filter, check valve's no good.
And the problem, I did it once. I had 3 compressors running with no check valve. I burned out all 3 of them at the same time because all that pressure is building up and it's pushing back on that freaking air compressor and it's damaging it. So you got to have a check valve in there. If you guys are going to go do your hard lines, always put a check valve in there and make sure that the check valves go in the right direction. There is a direction on it because what it does is it lets air go in one way. And when it stops and comes back, it closes the check valve and keeps that air where it's at.
If you have it backwards, I don't even know if it would work.
No, it doesn't. Actually, when the compressor turned on, it would shut it off and then start compressing and fuck up the compressor right away.
You know what? There's another thing, too, with direction of stuff with air dryers and valves, too. A lot of times the valves will have an arrow of which direction the airflow is. If you run them backwards, it'll work. But I don't think it lasts if you do it like that.
Well, your valve will hold air in a different spot where you're not wanting it. So when you air up the car, it won't hold it. So there's your problem there. But your valves, which where the hell did I put that one valve? I don't know. I'll show pictures of it when I do it. There's a valve right here, and you can look right here on the bottom. There's the arrow on it that tells you that this is the way that the air is going. So good call on that one, Pee-wee. Mm-hmm. So like I said, with compressors, it all depends on what you want. Look at your duty cycle. If you're one of those guys that's running, you just want to air up, you want to get the car to go, and that's it, you're fine. Get a smaller compressor. You don't need to worry about 100% duty cycle. If you're like me, you like to drag it, you like to play with the switches, you want to drive it and fuck around at the stoplights and whatnot.
I don't like waiting for air.
Make sure you got a higher end compressor, which is a more of a higher 100% duty cycle is the best, but the higher that you can afford, the better. What that means is it's rated to, at 100%, it's rated to run continuously.
I got one more brand of compressor that people like to argue about is Air Max.
Don't know anything about them.
Okay, so Air Max, it's basically a Vire knockoff, and there's a lot of people that'll defend it, and there's a lot of people that fight it. And my view is, go ahead and run them. Because I get it. Vires are expensive.
Yeah.
But you need to be prepared if it fails.
Right. And if you're going to, I think my buddy Alan hit me up one day. He's like, I got these Chinese compressors and I'm having problems. They're popping fuses and whatnot. I'm like, dude.
That's why I have a good friend that says that his have been fine and they probably have, but
I don't know. I'm telling you what, I think that friggin' 75% of everybody out there that's on air rides running airlift or Vire.
You're thinking of Vire.
Vire. Everybody's running
Most
Vire.
of what you see is on Vire.
And that's where you go, man. They're great. And if you guys, one of the things I've noticed, I don't know about import shows, but I notice if you're in the market for compressors like I am, a lot of the times, if you go to mini truck shows, there's somebody that's running a deal, and hopefully
there's always, at all the major mini truck show, there's always somebody running deals on them. So at least one of the vendors will run specials on compressors.
For sure.
That's the best place to buy compressors, by the way.
And like you can run one or two. That all depends on what you want. Again, if you're wanting to get in the car and just go, and you just want to air up once, get to the place you're at, air down, that's fine. Get yourself one compressor, fill your tank, be done. Me, Pee-wee, we like to play with it. We got 2 compressors, we got big tanks, and we want to play, so let's do that. Which brings us into the next thing, tank size. Tank size is part of this as well. Again, if you guys are wanting to freaking just air up and go, was it a 3-gallon pancake tank? Mm-hmm. I think that pretty much fills the car up once and you're good.
The thing is, though, exactly like he said, once you fill it, and once you fill the bags, that tank's emptied. You know.
Yeah, because
that's why I don't care for them.
And then again, it's all up to you guys what you want to do. We like to run bigger tanks. I think I've got a 6-gallon in Raylan box. I intend to do big. 2-3 gallons in Das Creature. What do you got?
I have a 5-gallon airlift aluminum tube tank, seamless.
So, again, that gives us that air. When that thing is full, I usually get like 2 full lifts out of it, I think. Which just reminds me, I got to go and put a battery charger on.
You only get 2 full lifts out of it?
I think so, but I just remembered we got to put a battery charger on Raylan box to get that fucker back in here tonight.
That'll be fun.
Anyway,
2 full lifts, dude.
I don't know.
If I unhook,
keep in mind,
if I shut off the compressors and drain the tank to 0 from 200, I could probably pick the car up like 15 times.
I don't know about if I can do that.
It gets slower and slower. I've done it. I've counted it because I've tried to empty the tank so I can service it.
I'm talking 2 full. I'm not, because you got to keep in mind I'm running 100 psi up front. So
yeah, you take it up a bit more.
It's
all relative. It's all based upon what you build and how you build it.
So if you're sitting down, right, and you're right, I want air ride, but I want to get by with it, and you got to sit and think, what am I going to do with this? Am I going to drag it? Am I going to go mini truck style? Am I just going to lift it off the freaking tires and drive down the road to the next place and air down? You can get away with that smaller stuff, but you need to know that stuff going into it. How am I going to drive this? Because you don't want to go, I've only got a certain amount of money to put into this, and you're at the freaking car show and you bought a small 3-gallon tank and a little itty-bitty compressor, and you got to freaking air up, drag it, pull over to the side, and wait for it 15 minutes for the thing to fill up.
Yeah, and the other thing is when you have one compressor, it takes longer. And here's another thought too with that.
Well, it depends on your tank size too. You could you could run a 480 on a 3-gallon tank and be done in a minute and a half.
Yeah. Here's what I will point out. I don't care if you have a 480 or what size compressor you have. If you're going to run a 5-gallon tank, I would run 2 compressors.
For sure.
No matter what. Just because it just bogs the compressor. What happens is they run longer, and it kills them over time.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
That's the only thing I'll put out. But I don't have... I agree with you with the 3 gallons. There's nothing wrong with them.
Let's talk about some fittings. You had some problems with some fittings.
Yeah, I did. Do I name drop?
I wouldn't drop the name.
I'm not going to drop the name, but I'm going to tell you what I recommend buying and just not recommend what I don't recommend. Does that make sense? So I've had really good luck with Eaton Fittings. You know the company Eaton, they make like semi-truck parts and clutches. Well, they do air fittings for the semi-truck industry. Like go to a semi-truck supply store, you can buy all your 3/8 fittings and 1/4-inch fittings.
Or half-inch.
They usually don't keep a huge stock because the smallest the semis use are like half, and they usually go up from there. But they do carry it. Sometimes it's a little bit more, but I've had really good luck with those, and I think they're the best quality you can buy. Just a smidge over SMC because they're full metal.
Which brings us to a good point, okay? Here's another issue. If you're looking for stuff, and a lot of us, you got to order shit online. Keep in mind, if you guys look in your phone book, or do people look in phone books anymore? Look online and
What's a phone?
look up a local truck supply store. Every area should have it because the semi trucks have air brakes and whatnot. So they're using air fittings and stuff like that you may need that you can get in a pinch in that. And some of it you can go to even Home Depot and buy what's called a compression fitting, which I talked to the guys at the truck supply stores. They say that you should run those over a push to connect because they've got a less chance of them leaking.
See, I've heard the exact opposite, and I talked to a guy about this. He said on the semi trucks they run on the brakes. They'll use PT push to connects. Oh, so
and that could just be the guy that I'm talking to.
Compression fittings are great though.
They are
I will
great.
give you that. I think you are right that the compression fittings are better. I just don't know if they're necessary.
They're not necessarily necessary, but to keep that in mind in some of them, because there are some push to connects that'll leak. Also,
yes.
When you do this, and this is one of the things that we were taught when we were listening to our Lifestyle, the podcast, is there was a guy from 33 Pneumatics that was talking about.
That was a very informative podcast. I recommend it.
If you guys get the chance and you are into podcasts and you're looking into doing air, a lot of the information that we're giving you can be taken from that or given in more detail from that guy. So look into that. It's 33 Pneumatics. The guy was phenomenal. When you do that, you got to keep in mind, and I brought this up on one of the other things I was talking about. I think it might have been online somewhere, that when you cut your airline, you've got to make sure it's perfectly straight.
Yes.
You don't want to have it angled or whatnot, because that, when you do the push to connect, it pushes into that fitting, okay? It pushes up against that wall. If you've got it at an angle, now you've got a little spot for it to leak, okay? So you want to make sure they're tight, they're straight, which we ended up going and buying a freaking, what the hell was that tool?
It's
like you can cut a garden hose with that thing in half.
They use it for weather stripping too.
Yeah.
It's a flat surface and it's got a blade. It's like a pair of scissors and it cuts.
Yeah.
They are the best.
You get that, cuts it nice and straight. I've seen people use a freaking cigar cutter too. Those work too.
I tried that. It doesn't work worth the fuck.
You gotta have a quality cigar cutter.
It's gotta be a good one because I found like a piece of shit one. I found one for like $2 and it didn't work worth a shit.
Now also when you cut that airline, make sure you go around and clean the freaking edge of it, because if there's little burrs on that,
the burrs off.
That can get in there and keep that from sealing too. So make sure you got that in there. Now the crimp-on connections, those are rather interesting because they're more mechanical. You've got to take the thing apart. You've got a metal, it's kind of like a horn-shaped thing. You put it inside the air line with the head of the thing on there. There's a ball that goes in there that's around the line. It's kind of complicated. You put it in there, you tighten it all the way down, and then it freaking seals it really tight. Like I said, you can get those at Home Depot, Menards, and all those places. Get those if you might want to keep a set in the car just in case you got one that breaks down or something. Or if you're in a pinch, you can do that. I know Menards, I haven't seen them at Home Depot, but I know Menards actually has some push to connects. Now, when you go into Menards and whatnot, if you're looking at this stuff and you need to find it, you're going to look in the plumbing section because they're using it for water, not air. Just keep that in mind.
Here's the other thing to keep in mind, too. Don't ask anybody there for help, because they're going to think you're going to tell them it's for an air ride, and they go, just go in there and just figure it out. Just ask them, where are your brass fittings?
And that's another thing you can have in there. What I like to keep is, in talking about fittings, is you can go into Menards and Home Depot. You can get a junction, basically. It's got a push to connect on each side. You push a hose in each side. Something to keep in the car just in case you're driving down the road and you get an air leak. Like you've got
like you have a hole in the line,
or you kink the line. Yeah, cut it. Boom, put that in there. You're good to go. So keep that stuff around. I always have fittings in the car when I go for a long ride. I've always got that thing that I was just telling you about in there. Some extra airline.
A good way to do exactly what he did, and this is what I do now. I take two ends that are push to connect. I carry a thing of line. So let's say you have part of the line break. You can cut out the two ends and you can piece it in the middle to fix it. I usually keep wire strippers, hexagon wrenches, a basic set of metrics.
10 millimeter, 12 millimeter, 14 millimeter. You can take the whole car apart.
Pretty much. But like, I got a small little like toolbox. Like, it's some cheap Chinese shit, but like, I got it as a gift from one of our former club members, and I keep it. It never leaves the car, and it has come into play quite a few times. And not even for me, but for other people.
For sure. And then also,
if it's underneath the seat, I take it to shows. I never take it out of the car.
Right.
So.
And then also have some electrical tape, some extra wiring.
Yes.
Maybe some, I know some of you guys laugh at them, but those little like twisty like wire things for wiring for your house, those work great in a pinch. You can, if you don't have anything to a butt connector, or you ran out of butt connectors, you wrap some electrical tape over it, you're done. It gets you home.
You're not trying to do a professional repair. You're trying to get home.
Zip ties and whatnot.
Zip ties are a thing.
So your airlines, there's not a whole lot to talk about it. You got 3 sizes, 1/4 inch, 3/8, half inch.
DOT approved.
Yes, do that. I know when I bought Raylan Box, it had freaking Husky airline from a freaking Home Depot.
Like that rubber shit for your shop.
Don't do that. Have some of that stuff in the car with you. Make sure if you're running a larger size with your 3/8 or your half inch, make sure you have both 1/4 inch and whatever size you have, because more than likely, if you're running a manual gauge, you've got that size line going to your gauges, and if you get an air leak there, you're going to want to be able to change that. So that's something to keep in mind.
And there's a lot of times something may go wrong, and once you put it together, you'll think and figure out a way to get it home.
Yeah, it's fairly easy, dude. Once you know the basics of it, you'll figure it out, and get the thing home. We just want to get you guys an understanding of how each component works. That way that when you're looking into it and you're not exactly sure, that you can understand. One other thing I do want to bring up, and I'm going to change my stand on this, because in the earlier episodes I said, fucking water. What the fuck are they called? Water traps. Fuck water traps.
Yeah,
I don't like it. No,
I'm with you on
I'm
this.
changing my mind, and I'll tell you why. I changed my whole view of them because of that interview with the guy from 33 Pneumatics. What I found was this: we think about it as something like the freaking compressors in your garage. You try to keep the water out of it and whatnot, and you put it in line and whatnot, and that's the way I always thought about it. But what you want on your setup in there, I always figured you put it from the compressor to the tank, which was like kind of what is on your compressor at home.
And that's a huge misconception with a lot of people, because there's a lot of people who've been doing that for a long time thinking that's what it is. And the way he had it explained is the condensation and the moisture that accumulates doesn't come straight out of the compressor. It's the hot air hitting the cold tank, and that's what makes the moisture.
So therefore, if you have that right after the compressor going into the tank, you're going to have water anyway. So the main issue for the water trap is for it to be on the outside of the tank going towards the valve. That keeps the water and gook and all the shit that's in that tank out of the freaking valves. The valves, if you get any debris in there, I've had Teflon tape go through the system somehow.
I've had that happen.
And it sits right where the valve is, and then it keeps that valve
hold
open.
It open.
So then you got to tear the valve apart and get that out. This will keep that stuff from happening. So put those in there on the outside before the valves. And I'm going to do it in both of mine now.
The other thing, too, I'm going to recommend when you set up a tank is, like, when you do it, proper threading and Loctite 545. I did my first setup yesterday. I did the whole tank with Loctite 545. It's kind of a pain in the dick to get, because they don't sell it at hardware stores. You got to order it online, and it's not cheap. But like, you get one bottle, you can probably bag 10 vehicles with it. And
when you put that shit on, it ain't coming off. There's a problem with it.
That's a misconception.
I've done it, dude. I've had that problem.
With the 545, or did you use the other Loctite?
I don't know. I used some of it. That shit don't come off.
Because if you use the 545, it turns into like a rubbery gummy. It doesn't get hard like regular pipe dope, And the other thing I recommend is safety valves. If you want to get, I mean, what do you think about safety valves on tanks?
You need to have
Like
a safety
wall
valve, and that was something I wanted to bring up too. You should have a safety valve in the bottom of it, just in case you do have it go too far. It'll pop before it breaks the thing. So always have that. This is what I normally run. This is your Teflon tape.
And there's nothing wrong with Teflon tape. It works perfectly
for
fine.
doing your fittings and whatnot. I've actually run this with a little bit of the other shit, and it works.
Right.
But keep this in your car just in case if you do run the other shit. That way, if you're on the side of the road and you got to change a valve or something because you had a freaking airline pop out of a freaking quick disconnect and it won't stay back in, you got to change it. Put this on your freaking fitting. Put it back in.
It's like less than $1.
Yeah,
Get a
I think I've spent maybe $5 in my lifetime on this stuff. But yeah, have that in the car too. You know what, Pee Wee? We're fucking 42 minutes on this.
How do you feel about putting a Schrader valve on your tank? Because I got news to you. I'm doing it. I'm about it now.
Schrader valve's not a bad safety feature.
You don't need one by right, but if the compressor's ever just like, let's say you smoked a compressor, it's done.
You got to get home.
You got to get home. You can roll up to a gas station, put 50 cents in the machine, and put enough air to get the car off the ground. So.
For sure, that's definitely a good idea. And I think some of them, the airlift setup that Dan had one in the kit.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing to have.
So that's pretty cool. We're at 42 minutes, so we're going to have to cut this shit in half, Pee Wee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we're going to have to split that up. And I'm telling you this now, if you've seen, you just watched 42, which is going to be cut in 2 episodes. But anyway, that gives you guys a basic idea on how that stuff works. And, we'll build on it as we go on. But, that way, if you're on the fence about Air Ride and you're not sure if you want to run it or not.
Don't be. It's awesome.
It's the fucking best thing in the world next to a sliding rag top.
Tank drains, too. I don't want to forget tank drains.
Always have a tank drain because you're always going to have that. We could also bring up the fact that you really should go with an aluminum tank over a metal tank.
I agree. I think at this point, just get the aluminum tanks.
There's really not a whole lot of price difference anymore. And if you run the aluminum tank, just know that it's going to last longer. So, because what happens,
the
rust will build up and it'll eventually pop.
With an aluminum tank, and this was even explained on that same podcast, the steel tanks, you got to worry about rust. It screws up your system. But if you run an aluminum tank, you can drive around with 2 gallons of water sloshing in the bottom, and it doesn't hurt anything, and it's not dangerous. You just have less room for air.
Right.
So that's my last piece of that.
So that's great, guys. If you guys got any other questions or anything, you can put them down below, and we'll answer, whatnot. But hopefully that helps you guys out. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll shut up so that you can see the rest of Steve Ball.
Carry on.
Well, we'll see. I still got a trailer that's in the works too.
And that's right. We did post that up a couple of weeks ago. You're building that trailer, and I saw your gate, which looks kick-ass. But tell us a bit about that trailer.
The trailer is a wreck that I picked up from Dustin Boone. So that shaved hatch is something that come off of Minty. It must have been a predated mod that he's done, but because he's running like a BB hatch, I think now, or something similar to it. But I picked it up from him and it had the hatch on there, and I said, well, this is going to go on my car because it's just too nice to just be on a trailer.
Right.
Right.
You know, and then I talked to him a little bit about what the wiring was, and John Hargrove, being a wiring whiz, we went ahead one day and we pulled the hatch off of both and wired everything up. And while we was at it, we've already got the trailer wiring wired up to my car,
Nice.
ready for the trailer. And but the trailer actually went over to my buddy's, Andrew Reinhardt's. Him and his dad are going to do all the tongue and support welds. And so he says if we can get the steel this weekend, and we may be pulling Monday or Tuesday.
Cool.
So what's that curb weight on that trailer? I'm curious. Well, it probably weighs as much as an XB, right?
Well, I mean, it's nothing in there. Even the carpet is out of it right now, but I'm planning on putting it back in just for a little bit of deadening.
Right.
But I think I might have cut maybe 800-900 pounds off of it. So we're probably down about 1,500-1,800
The
pounds.
motor alone's a big chunk.
I mean,
of
the
that.
motor and trans probably weighs, 500 pounds maybe?
Yeah, motor and trans is probably like 630 altogether.
That sounds about right.
And the interior, you think it weighs that much, but then when you scale it out, it's like I'm only got 30 pounds worth of seats sitting here, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it was gutted down to its bare bones. The only thing I plan to do to it is put the rear plastic moldings over the speaker and the wheel wells, the plastic around the glass, the A pillars and the B pillars, the doors. I'm going to get some of that hardboard and actually build some flat panels like an old Volkswagen Bug.
Okay.
You're right.
Kind of kill some of the weight. I'm going to take the window motors out. All the electrical wiring is out of it. Just trying to get all the weight out of it.
Right.
And then we're going to build a custom rear bumper for my car. We're actually going to take the crash bar off and weld up a whole new rear bumper with the receiver already built into it. And the bumper cover actually cover all of it. And there'll be a knockout for the receiver hitch.
Okay.
So
what are you planning on doing with that trailer? Are you gonna build it to be like a camper, or what are you trying to do with the interior of it?
it's going to be multi-purpose. It's going to be mostly gutted because we're going to use it for deliveries and stuff for the shop. I told my boss, I said, I'm just waiting for that day you say, hey, I got 14 boxes that need to go to Charlotte. I'm like, I've got a trailer to take them, you know. Because my biggest thing is just promotion, you know. And if I can do it for anybody else, I'll do the same, you know. A couple local car teams, I know my XB is not their standard, but I'll throw one of their small stickers on there just to show them support anyway.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's cool to see that, you know, and we talked to Jamie about her trailer, and you know, I knew when we were, you know, filming that one that you were building yours, so it's cool to see that. And I've seen, it's crazy, dude. I think this last week there was like 3 crashes this time around, and there's 3 more wrecked XBs out there that, you know, could be turned in, because I think 2 of them were front end hits, if I remember.
Yeah.
Once the front end's done, what else can you do with it, you know?
Well, it depends on how bad the front end's crushed. The one I picked up, he hit a telephone pole, and it basically shoved the whole front carriage over. So there's really no fixing that unless you build a railing box out of it, you know. But when I saw it come available, I was like, I'm going to take the parts off of it and, sell the few pieces I need, use what I put in on my tube, and I'm going to build a camper out of it. And so I'm going to take futon frame and cut sections of the futon frame to be like a lift gate area to flatten out the floor, because the tank area sits higher and then it dips down to the floorboard.
Right.
That's what I was curious of. Like, what were you trying to do with it?
Yeah, I use futon framing to go across there because it's basically a bed frame and it's strong enough to hold anybody. You just throw an air mattress on it, and I'm gonna do some custom window pulls where I'm gonna take. There's not going to be a window motor, so I'm going to attach old seat belts and to the bottom, and you pull the seat belt up and down, and it's the same as pulling the window up and down in the channel like an old Dodge,
right,
like a Superbird or whatever, back in the 70s. And so, I'm actually going with an old style window regulator idea from a Dodge from like the 70s on this box. It just shows that it's going to get ratted out.
Cool.
Well, and
My buddies,
what I was
and my
just,
buddies are telling me I need to paint it red to look like the Snoopy Doghouse, since I'm going to name it the Doghouse. You know?
I'm all about the matching thing. I'm all about it matching the car, same wheels. I'm into that look too.
Yeah.
well, and what I was wondering is if you could somehow through the trailer wiring hook up power so that you still have like window. So if you're in the camper and you could roll the window down because it's a little warm, or even lock it from that.
No, I'm just going to go with those simple up and down. And once you pull it up, you put a pin in it, and it'll keep it from being pulled down from the outside. And as far as all the door locks, they still work manually. And I've got a working key for the front doors.
Well, I didn't think about that, but yeah, that's a good idea.
And the rear hatch, I've got it figured out too. You only need about 5-6 volts of power for that hatch button to release.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
Take a small 9-volt battery and wire it into the wiring, and you always got that. And when you don't want it to open, you just unplug the battery.
Right.
Yeah, I guess you could do that. My move would have been to hook it to the trailer light, to the running light, but the thing is, you have to have the lights on to get the button to work.
Yeah, and then, there's times when if I set the trailer to the side, like if I go to a meet and I just set the trailer up, open the doors and sell shirts out of it, and I move my car somewhere else, I still have a little bit of power for at least to open the hatch.
Right.
But I will add other things to it as I go along. But, the first month or so, I just want to pull it to see how it pulls. Like I said, this thing's set for a couple of years. If I have to go through and change out a wheel bearing or anything like that, I want to be able to figure that out before I get too deep into it. Take care of what's necessity, and then you add on to it.
Right. Well, let's back it up a little bit again. Tell us a little bit about Snoopy.
Snoopy. Well, like I said, I bought it in 2012. My mom helped me out on it. And I called it Kenji at first because at the time I was just watching all the Initial D stuff I could. Because it was just something different. And my mom says, well, how's Snoopy? I said, Snoopy? She says, yeah, your car. It looks like a little Snoopy dog car. You need to put you some big old black ears over the front doors. It looked like a Snoopy dog.
Snoopy.
And I fought it for about 6 months. And then finally it was, okay, it's a Snoopy. But it's a 06.5. And it had all the power controls in the steering wheel. And I was like, that's pretty cool. To have something a little bit more than, power windows up and down on a Honda Civic, And, but for a year, I just drove it. And finally, I got into where I was fixing it up. And that was about the time I met my wife. And so she was like, I like your car. It's cute. And I'm like, okay. I don't want it to be cute. Cute is like one of those little dogs that's been beat in the face.
Hey, that's better than...
One of those dogs, a Shih Tzu or whatever. It's like a beat in the face. They're not really pretty, but, they're cute.
I've seen a women like go and insult these XBs. I'm like, whatever. That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
They're driving a fucking broken Kia Sedona, but,
I hate the word cute. I got that too. And everybody's, oh, it's so cute. So I just put all the ugly I could in the railing box. They do no longer call it cute.
There's nothing cute about that thing.
But and then it just took off from there. I started doing some car meets. My very first car meet was actually a car wash at a local tent shop.
Really?
And it was like May the 7th of 2015, and I was scared that nobody would show up. And I think we had like 45, 50 cars to show up just to get a car wash and hang out with us.
It's a pretty big turnout.
Yeah.
And then later on, the guy opened up his shop. He had a DJ set up in the base, up in the rafter area. And I had a buddy, Rabbit. Well, he went up there and he DJ'd. So we partied on through the night after, a car wash and show. And, but then it kind of took off from there. I was like, man, I like doing these meets. I like getting people to come and hang out and just meet people. And that's kind of how Motiv-R started taking off as far as an apparel brand. I was able to think, hey, I can make you some team shirts. I can make you some hats. And it's kind of gone from there. And the tent shop, Brent Hedrick over at Proline Tent Sound, they moved over to a new shop. and they're already talking about needing another batch of shirts. Like, heck, he ordered 100 shirts last year. Now he needs like 150.
Nice.
So we're gonna barter out a little bit. I got to get my wife's car tinted, and I need to get the rear hatch tinted on mine. So, and it works out for both of us, you know.
Well, and that's great. You know, I'm all about the barter system myself.
Fuck yeah.
I know me and
All
Pee
the
Wee,
time.
we do it all the time. Hey, I'll paint some shit. You give me wood.
Pretty much.
But so you talked about the wife. Is she also in a first gen?
Yes, she's in a Gen 1. She's in the 04, and we picked it up from T. Edwards. Now, y'all might know T. Edwards. He drives the crazy painted one.
Yeah.
It's like blue and multicolor. He does all the like apocalyptic desert run things. We got it from him. And, he's a great guy. If you get a chance to talk to him and for any length, you're definitely going to enjoy the stories you get out of him.
You know, it's funny. I see him all the time. I don't think I've ever really talked to him. And I've heard, I've seen him, like, I think he went on a tour one time across country and met all these Scion people across the country. And I hear all these stories and know people that have met him, but I've never really talked to the guy.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I think he has a rando lift kit on his. So that's how he's got it lifted up. And he's rolling on like an old set of Civic wheels or something. You know?
This is definitely different, and I like that one a lot.
Different is the name for that, yeah.
For sure.
I mean, that's kind of what you go for, because the last few commercials they were making for Scion was, what makes us different brings us together.
Right.
And then now Scion's not backing us no more. What makes us different just makes us different, and we'll keep doing it. That's all.
For sure, man. It's amazing that you think about it. Like,
you can't. Here's a new guy.
Who
Ken
got
Wilson.
over there?
Ken Wilson. He just bought a RS2,
Cool.
Sweet.
and so he's stopping in for a minute.
Cool. Glad to see you, man.
You too, man.
So, you got any questions?
I think we almost nailed everything. Just about. I can't think of anything. I'm farting out here a little bit.
I know. We didn't. You wrote notes, and we didn't write any this time.
Yeah, I've got notes. I back front and back on one.
You sounded good.
I was just afraid that y'all was going to ask me something, and I go dumbfounded, because I did go outside for a minute and have a smoke.
Well, we can't blame you for that.
Well, how about this? Do you have any questions for us?
I kept saying I need to come up with some questions for them. And I really don't know what I would ask. I mean, because this is what just did 14.
Yep.
Y'all we've already know who y'all are. We know where you come from.
It's true.
Other than anything inspiring that looks like, oh, I'm gonna take a sudden turn and go this way with the design or something like that. Like you have the XA. I was like, if I never get an XB, I'll get an XA. Because it still had that small, squatty, kind of squarish look.
Yeah.
But having one of those, I mean, where do you look to find yourself in like 6 months or a year with it? I mean, I know it won't stay a daily. It'll have to have something done to it.
I don't know.
Tell us about the
I don't
XA.
know. At this point, I don't know what I want to do with it. I'm kind of up in the air. Like, I want to bag it, but on the money I would put into that, I want to do other stuff with it. At this point, I'm unshitboxing the car, because in pictures it looks good, but when you get in person, it's kind of beat. It's got a lot of miles on it. I mean, it runs decently, but I wish I could answer that question better. But here's the thing with the XA. It really does feel and drive like an XB. It's like they took an XB and cut the corners off. That's literally what an XA is.
Yeah, it's definitely got a lot less overhang. And
It's still got that fun small car vibe, but my biggest complaint is it does not like going 70. It just doesn't.
well, the car's got over almost 300,000 miles on it.
And I think it's got an exhaust leak, which doesn't help.
That's part of your problem. And I
I'm
think we
slowly
bought
unshitboxing it.
we
is
bought
what's
the part
happening.
for that. We just need time. And it's funny, we talk about it, and I'm a bad influence with Pee Wee. I'm like, dude, It's Raylan Box in XA form. Let's fucking build it. And he's like, yeah. And then he's like, no. But, you know, he's got Bitch Please. Bitch Please has got she's got a lot of plans. I know the fucking upholstery is not going to be cheap.
Everything costs money. I mean, the thing is, too, is, like, I have enough stuff laying around that, like, all I need is the struts and the bags. It's just, I'd have to pull the trigger out.
You know what I forgot?
What did you forget?
I forgot that Travis Rake's got a set of Rando struts for me down there.
First gen?
Yeah. I think they're first gen. I don't know. Maybe they're not.
Wait a minute.
Maybe those will fit. Then you just need bags, because I think he said it doesn't have bags, but...
I'm going to have to hit him up, and I'm going to do that before this podcast gets released so nobody jacks him out from underneath me.
Well, he already told me I never mind if I wanted him, so... But...
We'll talk about that later.
Oz, maybe now that you got Raylan Box, which is like the extreme, mini truck version of an XB, and you got Das Creature, which is getting its own mods in itself, maybe you need to get you something that's kind of a humble XB.
No.
Something you can try on Sunday.
Well, that's kind of the thing with Das Creature. I've put this limitation in my head that anything that I do to it has to be done to completion, so it's not like Raylan Box where, I've got this half done and that half done, and I'll get to that later. This one is going to be a daily. It's always going to be a daily, so it's going to kind of be that way. Unfortunately, when I had the deer head, it's kind of changed things a little bit. And things are starting to take off. I'm cracking up because I fucking started ordering parts because I got that check. I've yet to order the fucking bumper, which is the one thing I fucking need. And I've got what the hell do I got? I got new headlights. I got new fucking fog lights. I got corner lights. I got this and that and the other thing. And I got to get the bumper yet. But
well, I've actually got a chopped up fab front bumper. It's like from the headlights, and it makes its rotation down, and it turns flat, and then that's it. It doesn't have like any of the grill cut out there. It's all gone.
Oh, okay.
So I can actually put that in a box and get it to you, and you can have something to look at and say, you know what can I do with this?
Well, shoot me some pictures of that because it may be.
Yeah, I need a picture of that.
Yeah, basically the whole bottom section of it, when it starts to do the cutouts, it's just cut directly across from there. So from like that down would be something completely wicked knob.
Well, and that's it. I really want, like, I've got Raylan Box's old bumper sitting here, but I fucking hate that I made the grill so much longer because I wanted that really open mouth section in the piece, which in the videos, yeah. I every time I watch the fucking Raylan Box video, all I see is the fucking centers like this and the outsides like this. And it drove me freaking nuts. Yeah. But I'm like, I'll just throw that one on there. And I'm like, fuck that, dude. I hate that bumper. But it is going to go on for a short time while I build the new one because, I want to do something a little bit different. But, I was going to go and order, I don't remember what freaking lip it is. There was a lip that I had found, and it came with a rear lip on it. And I was going to order that. And I was like, I was just about to click buy, and I noticed that the way it flares out at the bottom, really I don't like because it gets wider at the bottom, and I hate that about the factory lip. I want it to kind of roll, and I know there's a JDM front bumper or front lip that does that where it just kind of rolls under, and that's really what I want, but I don't want to roll.
No, that's like one of the best first-gen bumpers I think you can get.
I don't really want the freaking JDM front bumper, so it's kind of... But I've got an idea. I did it on the other one, and I'm toying with whether I'm going to cut it off of that one or just make another one. And I took a rear bumper and flipped it upside down and cut it and grafted it in. And I think it's in last video in number 14 that just went up today. I think there's pictures of it in there. You can kind of see it. But,
yeah, I saw those. Like I said, I was watching 14 running a shirt here and waiting on. We were going to do this, which is, it's no big thing to me. I've got all day. I mean, we can sit here. I've got no curfew. I keep telling my friends, when you got to be home? When I get home. When I come pulling in at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and my wife is there on the couch. She's asleep. She wakes up and says, I didn't know you was going to be out all night. I'm like, well, I mean, do you know where I'm at? I'm either, hanging out with friends, working on cars, or at work,
Yeah.
Well, and it's cool that you guys got you got a place to come out, because I used to have a shop back in the day. I know I talked about that, but when you started telling me about yours, it's like it brought back those days that it was amazing to, I think when I had mine, it would be like Friday. I think we'd start out at like 4:00, and one of your buddies would stroll in, and then by the time it's the end of the night, you got fucking 10, 15 guys there. You're across the street at the fucking Applebee's and fucking giving the waitresses hell, and we always had a good time when we had my shop. So I'm sure you guys are doing the same. And seeing some of the pictures, it totally brings all that stuff back.
Well, I've actually got pictures that are on. You had to take one of the disposable cameras, and you took it to the Eckerd Drugs and got all the photos.
Oh yeah.
They said what size you want, the 4x8s or whatever.
Right.
Like, just give me the cheapest ones. I've got a ton of those from back in the day when we had first started hanging out. And, a bunch of our old Civics. We used to go to the Howard Johnson hotels and rent a room and party all night. And, you'd have one person that would be responsible for all the damages the next day, and it was never me.
No, I didn't do that. I know somebody posted up on Facebook. They have the 1993 the big audio competition. It's a bunch of VHS tapes somebody found, and they videotaped almost the whole thing, everything in the show. And it's fucking awesome to see shit. And everyone's finding old pictures from the 80s and stuff. It's
dude, that's the stuff I want to see, man. And
you got to post some of that up. If you've got stuff from the 90s and the early 2000s, that'd be the shit.
Well, and like you said before, you were talking about going to the older Nopi show. Dude, just the pictures from that alone is kick-ass to see.
Well, the thing is when the guy died a couple years ago, Nopi really went downhill from there as far as their productions. I went to a couple of Nopi events within the last 5 years, and it's they just hanging out at the fairgrounds. It's no different than being in a parking lot meet, and they're charging you $25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Nopi used to be huge, because I know that they were sanctioning events that went on all over. And I think up here we got Great Lakes Dragway, which is just over the border in Wisconsin. And we used to have a meet up there every fucking month. And they would have a show, and they would have import drags every month. And I haven't seen that in years.
Great Lakes still does stuff like that, actually. They do street night, But
it was a lot of fun, and they put a lot into it. Obviously there's not as much show stuff for the import thing as there is for the mini truck, and that's why we're kind of pushing people to go to the mini truck meets, and we're starting to get love in the magazines and whatnot, and if you guys are seeing any of the shows out there that you want to do, or you want to get people to show up at, like Steve has mentioned some of the stuff he's doing down there, let us know, and we'll spread the word and hopefully help push the limits of this thing. So,
did y'all guys ever have an event called the Booger Bash?
No.
It was a mini truck and import show back in the late 80s, all through the 90s, up to about 2000. Was the last time they had a Booger Bash here in North Carolina that I know of. And we had went to it. I had a Honda Civic, and but we camped out the whole weekend. It was cold. I mean, it was the day before Halloween.
Oh God, that's
cold. Sleeping on the ground in a tent.
That's late in the season.
But see, that was some of the old events we liked to do. It was the local, the grassroots top feel.
Right.
A lot of kids would come in here. Because at the time, air ride was just starting to take off on cars. They were taking air ride systems off of transfer trucks and making them go up underneath the car.
Right.
So you'd have cars that come in there. I knew a guy had a Civic, and he put air ride on it, and he set it up some way that he could lift the car all the way up, and it sucked the back wheel up and go three-wheel, but it was the front two wheels in the rear. The first time I ever seen 20s on an F-150, it was cutting up the frame.
Oh, yeah, that used to be a big deal. Remember when 20s were a big deal?
I know.
Yeah. So that's kind of my era. I mean, but I was into Volkswagens way before that. My first car was a 71 Super Beetle with a 1641. And I was getting, they said, oh, you'll get 50 miles a gallon. I got about 30 miles a gallon out of it because I always had my foot in it. Because I worked the most I could out of that 60 horsepower, you know?
Well, and then you said you were into mini trucks a little bit too.
Yeah, I never had a mini truck per se. My dad had a Mazda B2200 extended cab, and I was always like, we need to lower it. We need to lower it. All you got to do is turn the torsion bars and flip over the, no, I'm not doing that. You don't have any use out of a truck no more. You know, I'm like, looks cool.
Right there just proves it. He's a mini trucker.
It looks cool.
Yeah, it's great, man. And I miss those days. It was definitely a different time. Obviously, we see a lot of these kids that are coming up now, and we forget about those times when we were like that, and it was simple. Dropping shit was a hobby or a thing you did on the weekend. Your buddy shows up, you're like, you're done. Now all these kids now, it seems these days they just.
I think the internet killed it.
I think so a little bit.
I think the internet's killed a lot of that. I don't think it's the internet that killed it. I think it's the phones that kill it. Like being able to just, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, and I think that's what's kind of made it how it is, and I myself got caught up in it, and I have to physically stop myself. I think somebody posted up a thing for Front End Friday, and I was like, I'm scrolling through my phone to find a picture, and I can't find one of my car because I got pictures of everybody else's car that I'm using for the intro. And I posted that, and I was like, somebody goes, well, we can just look at the calendar. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to feel left out. But, that's just it. We're all looking at, I want to show this out and show my car off. There's very little conversation between each other, and, we need to bring that back.
Well, every time we get together, I kind of get a little jealous because, there's John Hargrove. He's got this OD green one with the stickers all over it. We'll park, and, we'll have, boom, there's me, and then there's Jason, and then Scuba Steve in his darkness, or Stormy, whichever one he drives. And then there's John Hargrove on the end. And then there's this crowd coming like, they're going to come look at our cars. And then they all gather around John's because he's got all these stickers. I kid him. He's got $2,000 worth of stickers on his car. He's got a really cool setup. He's went with the carbon fiber stuff, and he's sticking with it a little bit at a time. He gets this, he gets that. He's got a lot of one-off stuff like his door handles. It's the only set in America that I know of, and then he's looking to redo his fender flares because he cracked one.
Oh.
So it's time to buy another $400 set of fender flares, But that's how he's doing it. That's it's what he enjoys, and it comes out. It looks good, and he's just a cool guy. Anytime you need help, like Randy drove from Winston-Salem to Charlotte, and I know that's just a couple city names to y'all, right. But it's about an hour and a half drive from Winston-Salem to Charlotte. But he drove down there, and I think they did a stereo setup. We did his power mirrors. And, the whole time John was like, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this. We need to look for this wire. He breaks out the voltmeter, and he just knows his stuff, and he's just a good guy to hang out with.
Well, and it's good that you got that. We tried to do that here in Chicago, and it got, we even started the whole Chi-Town XB thing, and we've got some good people on there. But unfortunately, with the younger crowd, they don't see that. We try to get people together for just like dinner. I think even with Daniel's dinner before he moved away,
we had a few people.
We had like 4 or 5 people that show up that are always there, and it's hard to motivate some of those kids to do that. Well, I got this. I understand that.
Or you know what? They don't want to drive. They don't want. That's too far. That's too far. An hour is too far to drive, and that fucking drives me up the wall.
It does, and I don't know how to get past that, and I'm trying to bring that back, and it's kind of I'm kind of racking my brain.
It might be just a generational thing too.
It could be at this day and age too. Kids much rather look down at a screen than look up at you and talk to you face to face. And sure. But we try to make it a family thing with the Thrills and the Hills event. This is going to be like our 3rd year doing this, but we do like 3 or 4 a year, and. But we'll set up. We'll like drive up to the Blue Ridge Parkway, and we'll set up one of the parks, and we'll just grill out, and everybody parks and hangs out. And we have Sammy Gooden and Alex Perez of Vibes. They drive all the way out of South Carolina up to the Blue Ridge Parkway to hang out with us.
And that's awesome, dude. Why don't you go ahead and tell about like your next event, like when you're going to do that, and shout that out. Maybe some people will make the drive.
Yeah, the next event we're looking to do is Import Face Off on April the 7th. That's a Sunday. It's a one-day meet. It's going to be in Rockingham, North Carolina, which is pretty close to the North Carolina-South Carolina border. So some of the people out in that area can they'll probably come up. I know I'm not connected with everybody in the XB community, but I do have a lot of people nationwide, even international, because I did send a hoodie sweatshirt to Peter Moses of Ducktail Racing.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So that was kind of one of my things. You know, I went international with that. Emily, see, I'm going through my notes. Emily Griffiths in England, she has a couple of my shirts.
That's awesome, dude.
But you know, once you start getting your name out there and people find out about you, like we've got people as far as the coast. Eddie Crumpler lives out about the coastal area on the other side of Raleigh. He's drove into one of our meets. He's drove into another event we did back in 2016. It was Dank Fest. And I went ahead and dropped some major coin. It had 4 cars in that one.
Nice.
And we set up Motivar, and that was kind of our first big event. And from there, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to waste that much money on those events when I can just cook hot dogs and have people come hang out.
Those events keep getting more and more expensive, too.
For sure. And we'll end up we'll get some information from you. We'll put you in the outro, your Instagram tag and whatnot. That way, if people see that they can't make that one, maybe they can make a next one or find out how to get a hold of you and figure out where they can meet up with you. So we'll do that. And you got anything else, Pee Wee?
I think that it's gonna nail it.
Well, Steve, it was great to see you. I know we're going to cut you loose so you can hang out with your buddy there and do whatever you need to do.
You can get back to work.
Get back to work.
Well, we need to go get tacos because I'm getting hungry.
Taco time.
Yeah, and you see the box behind me?
Yes.
It's the T-shirt box on wheels.
Yes.
That's just a T-shirt box with wheels, and I've got a child seat, or it's more like a booster seat that's sitting in there. It looks like a Sparco, but I'm setting that up for my cat when I go to the car shows.
So you put your cat. You put your cat in there.
I put my cat in there. Yeah, we got.
I want pictures of that.
The cat's going to need a helmet and goggles. I'm just saying.
I don't know about that. She barely likes to have that leash thing put on her. You put on her to try to walk her, and she hunkers down.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another project. I've always got a couple irons in the fire for something.
For sure, man. Well, get to work on that trailer. Keep us posted on pics, and we'll throw that up there. And as long as you guys, you've always got some input and content you're throwing at me. Unfortunately, I haven't fit some of it in, but I'm trying to figure out how to do that. But keep it up, man, and we're following you along down there.
All right, man. Y'all take care.
You too, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Y'all stay safe. See you.
You too. I didn't even warn Pee Wee this time. I just hit the record button. Are you
I
ready?
didn't
Pee-wee?
get it, and we're live. Yeah, I'm good. I'm all right.
Welcome
I
back,
survived.
guys. We just got done learning about Air Ride. We just got done learning about Mr. Steve Ball. And hopefully you guys are all excited to get out in the garage now and do some work. Are you ready for some Air Ride? Steve Ball is.
I'm ready.
He needs you to buy some shirts so he can buy some Air
Buy
Ride.
more shirts.
He's already got the approval. He just needs it. Needs the money.
He didn't send me my stickers yet.
Damn it, Steve. And that didn't come up. Steve, we need stickers.
I was going to, but we were busy.
Thanks, Steve, for being on our show. It's great to get to know you. We also did the thing with Air Ride, and hopefully you guys understand that a little better. Again, if you've got any questions, put them down below, and we will answer them, or hit us up on our Instagrams. We put them up there for a reason. You guys got to get a hold of us. Boom, done.
DM.
I don't think
Slide
I've
the DM.
turned down anybody yet. Oh, wait a minute. I did get a couple porn requests. I said no, sorry.
Yeah, usually I just block them. I'm like, no.
It's been a long day for us. Like I said, we just filmed 3 of these in a row. And it's a bit long, so hopefully you guys don't mind us being short-winded. I'm sure they're probably going, oh my God, they didn't say shit this time. So
Dude, those guys are burnt.
we got some big news coming up for you guys. So hopefully you guys will stay tuned for that. And this will wrap our episode, and we will shut the fuck up. See you guys later, douchebags.
Out. Peace.
What up, y'all? Yeah, soundtrack, what's poppin', baby? Woo! Y'all ain't know, I go by the name of Lupe Fiasco, representing that first and 15. Yeah, and this one right here, I dedicate this one right here to all my homies out there grinding. You know what I'm saying? Legally and illegally. You know what I'm talking about? So, check it out. First got it when he was 6, didn't know any tricks. Matter of fact, first time he got on it, he slipped, landed on his hip and busted his lip. For a week he had to talk with a list like this. Now we can end the story right here, but shorty didn't quit, it was something in the air. Yeah, he said it was something so appealing, he couldn't fight the feeling, something about it. He knew he couldn't doubt it, couldn't understand it. Branded, since the first kick flip he landed. Labeled a misfit, a bandit. Cocoon, cocoon, cocoon. His neighbors couldn't stand it, so he was banished to the park. Started in the morning, one stopped after dark. Yeah, when they said it's getting late in here, so I'm sorry, young man, there's no skating here. So we kick, push, kick, push, kick, push, kick, push, coast. And away he rolled, just a rebel to the world with no place to go. And so we kick, push, kick, push, kick, push, kick, push, coast. So come and skate with me, just a rebel.
Look at me! I have a Scion! I'm running on a box on wheels!
Scion, douchebag!